What if the greatest promise of faith is unfolding right now? What if the return of Christ, foretold for millennia, isn't a distant event, but a reality breaking through in our time? Nearly a century ago, a man with no theological training, no pulpit, claimed to see this moment. They called him the sleeping prophet. His name was Edgar Cayce, and he declared that the second coming of Christ had already begun, not as a single figure descending from the skies, but as a spiritual awakening, transforming the world. In 2025, as humanity stands at a crossroads, his words feel more prophetic than ever. Stay until the end, because what you're about to hear might redefine everything you believe about the future. Edgar Cayce was born in 1877 in a small Kentucky town. A devout Christian with only a grade school education, he possessed a gift that transcended his simple life. In a deep hypnotic trance, he could diagnose illnesses, speak of ancient civilizations, and glimpse divine truths. His followers recorded over 14,000 readings, words that seemed to flow from a higher source. Cayce didn't claim to be a prophet. He saw himself as a humble servant of God. But when he spoke of the second coming, the return of Christ promised in the Bible, he offered a vision so radical it challenged both skeptics and believers. Could a mystic from the 1930s have seen the dawn of a new spiritual age? In a 1939 reading, Cayce said, "The Lord is come, not as in the past, but as a quickening of the spirit within men. The second coming is the awakening of his presence in the hearts of many." Unlike traditional views of Christ, returning in physical form, Cayce described a global shift, a Christ consciousness spreading across humanity, marked by love, unity, and divine awareness. He saw this awakening beginning in the 20th century and intensifying in our time. He pointed to signs: turmoil in the world, a turning away from materialism, and a hunger for spiritual truth. In 2025, these signs are undeniable. Are we living in the era Cayce foresaw? Let's examine the evidence. Cayce predicted that the second coming would be preceded by chaos, wars, disasters, and division. He spoke of upheavals in the earth and among men as a catalyst for awakening. In 2024, the world faced escalating conflicts, from geopolitical tensions to climate-driven disasters. Hurricanes battered the U.S., wildfires raged in the West, and a 5.2 magnitude earthquake shook Los Angeles, fueling fears of worse to come. On X, posts about end times and biblical signs surged, with some quoting Cayce's warnings. He also foresaw a fractured society where brother turns against brother. A 2024 Gallup poll showed trust in institutions at historic lows, with only 25% of Americans confident in their government. Is this the turmoil Cayce said would herald Christ's return? But Cayce's vision wasn't about despair. It was about transformation. He believed the second coming would manifest through millions embracing a higher consciousness. He described a world where people reject greed and division, seeking love and unity instead. In 2025, this shift is palpable. A 2024 Pew Research study found that 48% of Americans now identify as spiritual but not religious, a record high. Meditation apps, interfaith gatherings, and holistic retreats are booming, even in conservative regions. On X, hashtags like Christ consciousness and spiritual awakening trend weekly. with users sharing stories of personal transformation. Cayce's idea that Christ returns through us feels like a blueprint for this moment. Cayce also tied this awakening to ancient mysteries, particularly Atlantis. He claimed that many souls alive today were part of that lost civilization, reborn to fulfill a spiritual mission. In his readings, Atlantis fell because it chased power over love, but its survivors carried the Christ spirit into the future. Cayce said the second coming would see these souls awaken, spreading divine light. In 2024, discoveries of underwater structures near the Bahamas, where Cayce predicted Atlantean ruins, sparked viral debates on X, with some linking them to his prophecies. Could the spiritual surge we're seeing be the legacy of Atlantis, as Cayce believed? Cayce's vision wasn't without warnings. He said the second coming would test humanity's choices. Those who cling to ego and division would struggle, while those who embrace love would thrive. He spoke of trials by fire and water that would purify the earth. In 2024, extreme weather events, floods in the Midwest, droughts in the Southwest, dominated headlines, with scientists warning of worse to come. On X, users debated whether these were biblical plagues or climate change, often citing Cayce's words. He urged preparation, not through fear, but through inner work. His readings emphasized prayer, meditation, and acts of kindness as the path to align with Christ's return. Let's connect the pieces. A world in turmoil, from earthquakes to social divides. A spiritual awakening sweeping millions, from meditation to interfaith unity. Discoveries hinting at ancient truths, and a mystic's vision of Christ returning, not in the clouds, but in our hearts. Edgar Cayce's prophecy paints a picture of 2025 as a pivotal year. A year when the second coming could be unfolding through us. The question isn't whether he was right. It's whether we're ready to live his vision. So, what do you think? Is the second coming happening now, as Cayce claimed? Or is it just a mystic's hope? Are you feeling this spiritual shift, or skeptical of it all? Share your thoughts in the comments if this has you rethinking faith and the future. If you want to explore more of Edgar Cayce's prophecies, his insights, and the mysteries he uncovered, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Join this community of truth seekers looking beyond the veil, because the light is rising, and only those who seek will find it.